Greene County property owners whose properties were raided during cannabis flyover operation in August say more needs to be done to clarify home grow laws for law enforcement and citizens alike. Chris Thompson's Fairborn area home was one of the properties visited by area law enforcement agencies during the Agencies for Combined Enforcement, or ACE, Task Force and Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation, BCI, flyovers on August 13th. End quote. Officers showed up and told me they were here to educate. I asked, "You need 30 people to educate us?" said Thompson in an interview with the Dayton Daily News. The Fairborn man said he was home alone when he noticed a helicopter hovering around his property. And he initially thought police were searching for a runaway suspect or a missing person. He says, in quote, 10 or 20 minutes pass with them circling around, and I'm like, wait a minute, I think they're coming to talk to me, Thompson said. Thompson said he was visited by a dozen of armed officers asking about his patch of cannabis plants, his 8 plants, under the legal limit for his household. Looked like 25 from the helicopter, officers told him. ACE Task Force records obtained by the Dayton Daily News say the team was conducting, in quote, an annual marijuana eradication effort, possibly the first such effort since home-growing marijuana became legal in Ohio last year. The records don't say how many properties were involved, but indicate some of the actions resulted in marijuana being seized. In at least 2 cases, Thompson's and another in Yellow Springs, no plants were seized, and the property owners questioned the aggressive tactics. The Yellow Springs property owner did not respond to a request for comment from the Dayton Daily News. The couple, Mijanu and Kyle Lewis, told Yellow Springs News that they had a dozen cannabis plants at their home when a team of officers came onto their property, but officers reportedly told them they counted 40 plants from the sky. Mijanu Lewis told Yellow Springs News that her husband, a horticulturist, grows dozens of exotic plants in their yard space, not just legal numbers of cannabis plants their household can keep. They didn't know the difference between swamp hibiscus and marijuana, she told Yellow Springs News. Task Force records say officers gave the home growers instructions on how to legally secure their plants. Greene County Sheriff Scott Anger, what a last name, said flyover operations occur annually through the ACE Drug Task Force and Ohio BCI. The task force is a regional partnership that includes the sheriff's office. In quote, if people are outside the scope of the law, our job is to help them to get back in the right direction, he said. And it's something we do in partnership with the state. A lot of counties do. This is on a routine basis. The team of law enforcement officers previously would hunt for properties with any cannabis during their flyover missions. Often they respond in larger numbers to properties with cannabis for officer safety, Anger said. But the citizen-initiated statute approved last year by the Ohioans allow residents 21 and over to grow and keep cannabis plants on their property. Many adults in Ohio who are 21 and older can lawfully grow and keep 6 to 12 cannabis plants on their property, 6 for adults living by themselves and 12 for households with more than 1 adult in the home. Per Ohio law, these plants must be contained in a secure closet, room, greenhouse, or other enclosed area, or in the grounds of a residence that prevents access by individuals less than 21 years of age, and which is not visible by normal unaided vision from a public space. That is what is tricky to members of the public who want to grow home, Thompson said. He kept this cannabis plant in a tall outdoor dog enclosure tucked away on his property and away from view of the street or adjacent properties. It's designed to keep in German Shepherds, he said. As far as safe, secured, and closed, if a German Shepherd can't get through it, you can only go so far. But according to law enforcement agencies that visited him last month, these efforts weren't quite enough. Anger said enclosures without roofs could still allow a person to access cannabis plants. The major concern of the agency is youth access to cannabis, of course. What about the kids? Anger said he understands the law is still new to Ohioans. He said he and other law enforcement leaders had hopes Ohio cannabis law would be clarified by the state lawmakers after legalization kicked off last year, but that hasn't happened as of this week. In quote, with every right, you have a responsibility. If you're going to be growing, it's important for you to know the law, he said. But can enclosed be defined much better? Absolutely. Anger said officers participating in the task force flyover had the law change in mind, not issuing citations to households with plants under the legal limit or to adults who did not have roofs in their greenhouse space or other enclosures. Thompson said he also does not want youth accessing cannabis, but he did not find the flyover operations to be educational. He said he felt afraid when he saw a large group of people coming onto his property and struggled with sleeplessness and other health concerns following the raid. There has to be a better way to educate people than this, he said. Thompson said he asked for a written warning with clear directions on how he should proceed with enclosing his plants, but he has never received one. Since the flyover, Thompson has added a roof to his cannabis enclosure. Thank you for getting high at 9 with us. All right, and that's my story. Look, I mean, obviously, it's pretty traumatizing. I think if you ask anybody in California over the last 20 years, you know, if like the raids, the camp raids or whatever that are still happening, actually, if those are traumatizing or not. And look what's happened in California over the last year or 2 years. I mean, they've shown up on properties. They've shot dogs. They've shot, you know, pets of these homeowners just because of cannabis. Like, this is a little crazy. Obviously, with the proliferation of cannabis regulation and laws, are going to be more of this in other states that haven't done this in the past. But as we all know, Ohio has been a traditionally producing area, and I'm sure they've, you know, had a long history of this. But I just think it's a bad look. I don't think it's very friendly, and it's not helpful for a state that just legalized adult use cannabis to be kind of handling their citizenry like this. I think they can do better. What do you guys think? I'm Saman Razani signing up.
You don't think it's friendly to take?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
You don't think it's friendly for them to take the taxpayer money and then scare the shit out of the taxpayers with it?
Right.
That part.
Yeah, I think they need to leave people the fuck alone.
I don't.
Yes. Mind your own damn business.
There's a variety of ways that they could approach this that would be better.
Yeah.
For starters,
they could do a knock and talk.
They could do a knock and talk. Also, if this is a civil infraction, you don't have to come in heavily militarized. Also, there's a world in which if the government can build trust with the population, if you have a home grow, you could register so that your address is known. If they have a question around your stem count, there's a world where you could take pictures and send it in. There's no way you can count stems from above when you have a canopy. That's just ridiculous. The other thing is, if you haven't had a helicopter or you haven't been swatted, it is traumatic, okay? It is no fun.
I got swatted once. Oh, bro, that was gnarly. Yeah, we got swatted at the store.
People with guns
that was insane.
who are not there to protect you is a very, very scary experience.
Exactly.
And so I worry very much that this antiquated approach isn't going to promote home grows and people feeling comfortable about that, and that really it's an intimidation tactic wrapped in the guise of compliance. They could have just as easily sent a letter and said, take pictures of your plants and show us that that's compliant. The other thing is that this guy said that he had asked for guidance about putting a roof on the top of his caged dog kennel. He's growing in a locked area outside. He could have just as easily put a little piece of plastic green roof on top, but he didn't get that guidance, and he had asked before. And so it's no fun. It's a total waste of money. Helicopters are incredibly expensive to operate.
I mean, I'll tell you what. I feel like law enforcement shouldn't be the ones that respond to these types of inferences. Like if they want to do flyovers or whatnot, but someone like from the Department of Agriculture should just be walking over there to have a conversation and do an inspection, or someone from their office cannabis management, not necessarily the actual cops with guns and whatnot. They need to.
Right. If the cops need to come, they can come later. You can call them if you get there and there's 10 pit bulls, 85 AKs, and a pound of cocaine, then cool. Call them when you get there and figure that out. But like over some plants, this is ridiculous and this is scary. And these guys sound like, you know, they make a roof for the dog enclosure. And I think, Yarrow, you said you kennel your child sometimes. I think the German Shepherd cage is going to keep the kids out. So, I mean, it's fine.
No, I mean, but also really it's just kind of, it's like ridiculous, you know, it's you're gonna like enforce these laws from a helicopter where this guy's property obviously, you know, is larger and he's doing his best to keep it away from public view. I mean, you're asking the guy to literally put a roof over his cannabis plant, which needs light. So you're telling him, hey, incur more costs, put up a light in here so you can actually grow your weed, instead of just saying, hey, yeah, like you're on your property, I can't see from the street. Yes, we saw it from above, but we're flying in a freaking helicopter. Like, you know, it's just
you gotta save the kids.
You know what my favorite
kids climbing in.
Yep.
I mean, listen, we put some very not so friendly dogs outside of the cultivations in some of the places since the police don't respond when we're broken into. But the cages have these very simple, like it's
called a latch.
Chain link. No, thanks, Jason. That's not what it's called. It's a chain link fence portion that just is designed to be the roof on it. So you don't really have to sacrifice the natural sunlight if you don't want to. It's a very cheap solution. And they could have just sent this guy an email that said, here's the answer to your question.
Sounds like that's what
with an Amazon link.
You know what's my favorite part? My favorite part about this whole story, you guys, was how the I think it was the wife that made the statement of saying we have lots of plants. We grow a lot of different exotic plants.
Yeah.
I was just like
I mean, I didn't know there was a swamp hibiscus. I didn't know it looked just like cannabis, but that's genius. I like this.
that was so good.
For mushroom cultivation.
They all got chlorophyll.
Yeah, that was my favorite part of the whole article right there.
Yeah,
I love that.
I hope Ohio gets it together, but you know,
they won't.
You know who we can blame for this, right, Rico?
Harris.
Nope, Nick Lachey.
Nick Lachey.
It's all Nick Lachey's fault.
It's always Nick Lachey's fault when it comes to Ohio.
A weak ass tribal tattoo on his biceps and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, fuck out of here, bro.
Exactly.
I'd rather blame Nick Bradley. I don't even. Who's Lachey?
You don't know who Nick Lachey is? Are you serious?
No, I'm just showing love to our boy, and who's usually in the chat.
He's not even there today.
I know. Yeah, he's not even
right.
there.
Well, he'll come back. I'll get mine. The chat will be cruel to me next Monday.
Oh boy.
Hey,